Hi, I'm Lois and welcome to Morco Studios, and today we're making the Freya Strappy Tote Bag. These tote bags come in two versions, tall and wide. The pattern includes the cut-in templates, a detailed step-by-step written tutorial with colour photographs on how to make these pouches and a full supply list. I will include a link to purchase the pattern in the description box below the video. In this video, I will be making the tall Freya Strappy Tote Bag. Using the templates and cutting list provided in the pattern, cut out all of the pattern pieces in your chosen fabrics and apply interfacing to the wrong sides of both exterior pieces A, both base pieces B, and both exterior pockets. Match the blue stars of pattern pieces A and B and loosely tape them together to form the lining piece. Then cut two. Interface the magnetic strap area. Cut two squares of interfacing measuring 2.5 centimeters by 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch by 1 inch. With the lining fabric piece wrong side up, align the top edge of the lining fabric with the top edge of the Molka paper pattern and mark the snap placement. Then iron one of the interfacing squares onto each of the lining fabric pieces using the marks as reference. This will reinforce the fabric and hold the snap in place securely. Do not worry about the bottom of the lining fabric not matching up with the bottom of the Molka paper pattern. This is correct. Make the exterior pockets. Take both of the exterior pocket pieces and fold them in half so that the right sides of the fabric are on the outside. Press the folds with an iron. Top stitch across the folded edge of the pockets, 0.6 centimeter or 1/4 of an inch away from the edge. I like to use a stitch length of 3.5 for this, as it gives the pocket a lovely finish. Take your Molka paper pattern and poke a hole through all 4 of the green dots of the exterior pocket. Lay a main body piece A right side up, align the paper pattern on top, then poke a vanishing marker or chalk through all the green holes to transfer the markings onto the fabric. Repeat for the other main body piece A. Lay an exterior pocket right side up onto each main body piece, using the marks you just made to get the placement correct. Pin into place. I took my time to get a perfect pattern placement so my pockets seamlessly blend into the bag. This is optional and takes a little time, but it does look great. Stitch the pocket into place down each of the longest sides, 0.3 centimetre or 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the pocket. Don't worry about the pocket seams being on show, we will cover them up later with the straps. We will also close the bottom of the pocket shut when we attach the base of the bag. Make the straps, take your fabric strips and fold them in half lengthways, then press with an iron. Reopen, then fold the raw edges towards the centre crease, created, and press with the iron. apply double-sided tape to the back along the centre of both the strips. Take the faux leather strips and apply double-sided tape to the back along the centre of both strips. Remove the backing from the tape, then with one hand pinch and fold both raw edges into the middle of the strap, and with the other hand press the seams firmly onto the tape. Lay one of your faux leather strips wrong side up, seams facing up. Take one of your fabric strips right side up, seams facing down. Remove the backing off the tape, then place the fabric strip on top of the faux leather strip. Take your time and do this inch by inch to get the fabric strip as central as possible with the faux leather strip. Repeat for the other strips. lay your Molko paper pattern on the table, then arrange your straps on top so that they are inside the red guidelines and they are overhanging the bottom of the paper pattern by 1.5 centimetres or 5/8 of an inch. Using pins or a vanishing marker or chalk mark the strap stop point, which is situated within the red strap guidelines, 4 centimetres or 1.5 inches from the top of the paper pattern. Top stitch both the long sides of the straps 0.5 centimetre or 3/16 of an inch away from the edge between the two strap stop points, leaving the rest of the strap unsewn. I like to use a stitch length of 3.5 for this, as it gives the straps a lovely finish. A trick to get a neat 0.5 centimetre or 3/16 of an inch seam allowance is to change the needle position to the far right, then use the edge of your standard sewing foot as a guide by keeping it in line with the top edge of the bag as you sew. When you reach your strap stop point, mark pivot the strap 90 degrees, sew across, then pivot again and sew down the other side. You will now have 2 partially sewn straps. Apply double-sided tape to the back of the unsewn portion of both the straps. Lay a main body a piece right side up and use the Molko paper pattern to transfer just the top and the bottom red dots of the red strap marks onto the top and bottom edges of the fabric using a vanishing marker or chalk. Repeat for the other main body piece. Then lay a set of straps onto each one, using the marks you just made to get the placement correct. Adjust them so that the sewn stop points on your strap are 4 centimeters or 1.5 inches from the top edge of the bag. Make sure that the straps are not twisted. Pin or clip into place. Once pinned or clipped securely in place, remove the backing from the unsewn portion of the straps, then stick them into position using the bottom marker or chalk marks as a guide. Starting from the bottom of your main body pieces, sew the straps into place using a 0.5 centimeter or 3/16 of an inch allowance away from the edge. When you reach the strap stop point, pivot the strap, sew across, then backstitch over this point a few times to reinforce this seam. Then pivot again and sew down the other side of the strap. Once you have sewn the straps onto both main body pieces, they will now be fully sewn, secured into place, and have covered up the raw edges of the exterior pockets. Lay one main body piece, a right side up, then take one base panel, piece B, wrong side up, and lay it down on top with the square cut out areas, pointing towards the top. Align the edges and pin them together. If you are using faux leather or cork, you will need to use sewing clips instead of pins. Repeat with the other main body and base panel pieces so that you have 2 pin panels. Reset the needle position of your machine and lower the stitch length back down to 2 to 2.5. Then stitch both pieces together with a 1.5 cm or 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once sewn, trim off the excess handles from the bottom. Open up the panels. Then on the back, press the main body seam allowance down into the bottom panel and flatten really well with a hot iron on the front and the back. If you are using faux leather, be sure to do a test with the iron so you do not melt the fabric. I prefer to use a mesh ironing cloth to protect my fabrics. Change your stitch length to 3.5 and top stitch 2 rows of stitches below the joining seam in coordinating thread. This gives extra strength to the base of the bag, helps to keep those pressed seams flat, and also gives the bag a little bit of extra detail. Both of your contrasting exterior panels are now ready for the next step. Lay one of your exterior panels right side up and place the other exterior panel on top, wrong side up, so that both right sides of the fabrics are touching each other. Align all the edges, paying extra attention to the top edge seams and the base panel seams. You want these to match up perfectly. Pin these seams first, then pin the sides and bottom of the bag together, leaving the square areas of the corners. Stitch along the sides and the bottom of the bag. Do not sew the square areas of the corners. It is also very important to backstitch at the start and the end of each line of stitch to ensure your seams do not reopen later on. Once all of the sides are sewn, press your seams open with a hot iron. This will ensure that your corners and edges stay nice and flat and not bulky. Next, it's time to pay attention to those corners that give this bag its great shape. Pinch one of the square openings in the opposite direction so that it creates a corner shape, and make sure to align the seams. You will find this step much easier now that the seams have been pressed open. Pin or clip the pinched corner closed. Then, repeat for the other corner. stitch both corners with a 0.6 centimetre or 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Make sure to backstitch at the start and the end of each line of stitch to ensure your seams do not reopen later on. Once both corners are sewn, your exterior bag should look like this. The exterior bag is now complete, so put this aside whilst we pay our attention to the lining. Take your slip pocket piece and fold it in half lengthways. Press the fold with an iron. Take your slip pocket trimming piece and fold it in half lengthways. Press with an iron. Reopen, then fold the raw edges towards the centre crease created and press with the iron. Refold the whole thing in half lengthways and press again. Then tuck the raw open edges of the pocket into the centre of the fold of your pocket trimming and pin or clip into place. Sew 2 lines of stitch across the pocket trimming to secure it into place. I like to use a stitch length of 3.5 for this, as it gives the pocket a lovely finish. Take one of the lining fabric pieces and lay it down right side up. Use the Molko paper pattern to transfer the bottom slip pocket position marks onto one of the lining pieces using a vanishing marker or chalk. Pin the slip pocket right side up into place using the marks as a guide to get the correct positioning. You may notice that the pocket is slightly wider than it needs to be, but this is okay. Sew the pocket into place down the side edges and across the bottom fold. Using a ruler and a vanishing marker or chalk, or a tracing wheel, mark a vertical line straight down the middle of the pocket. Then mark 4 centimeters or 1.5 inches from each side edge. You want these side edge lines to be in line with the cut corners of the lining fabric. This prevents the pockets from bulging out too much when the bag is finished. So all 3 marks of the pocket, making sure to backstitch at the start and the end of your line of stitches to ensure the pockets are well attached and your stitches do not reopen. I like to use a stitch length of 3.5 for this, as it gives the pocket a lovely finish. Inserting the internal flush pocket. Lay the other lining piece, the one without the slip pocket, right side up. Take your Molko paper pattern and poke a hole through all 4 of the blue dots of the internal flush pocket. Align the paper pattern on top, then poke a vanishing marker or chalk through all blue holes to transfer the markings onto the fabric. Take your Molko paper pattern and poke a hole through all 6 of the orange dots on the zipper template. Next, lay your flush pocket piece wrong side up, then lay the paper template on top. Align the top edges. Then poke a vanishing marker or chalk through all 6 of the orange holes to transfer the zipper template onto the fabric. Remove the template and join all the dots together using a ruler and a marker. Place the flush pocket piece on top of the lining piece so the zip markings are facing you. Arrange it so that the top and side edges of the pocket piece fit perfectly inside the marks, the blue dots you made earlier. Pin into place. With a short stitch length, I use a size 2. Stitch around the outer rectangle only. Do not sew any of the lines inside the rectangle. When you reach a corner, keep your needle down. Raise the presser foot. Pivot the fabric 90 degrees. Then lower the presser foot and continue sewing. Remember to backstitch at the end of your line of stitches. Then using sharp scissors, follow the markings to cut a slit down the middle of the sewn rectangle and cut the V's. Make sure to cut through both the external and pocket fabric. Be careful not to cut the stitching. You can use a seam ripper or a rotary cutter to get the slit started. Remove your pins. Pull all of the pocket fabric through the slit in the rectangle. Smooth out the opening to the best you can with the help of an iron, concentrating on the front. Press the front and the back so that the seams are flat. The inside may become a little puckered, but don't worry, no one will see that part. You should now have something that looks like this. Using a sewing needle and thread, tack or hand stitch the open end of the zipper closed. This makes sewing the zipper pocket much easier. Or you can knit the zipper back together. Tips on this can be found on my website, molko.co.uk. Lay your lining piece wrong side up and lay your zip wrong side up into the gap. Arrange the zipper so that it is in the centre of the open gap, then secure it in place. You can use pins, double-sided tape, fusible webbing, whichever you prefer or have to hand. I prefer to use electrical tape, which I will later remove. If using tape, apply it to the very edge of the zipper, as you do not want to stitch through it. Attach your zipper foot, then top stitch around the rectangle, roughly 0.3 centimetre or 1/8 of an inch from the edge, using a size 4 to 4.5 stitch length. If your zipper pull gets in the way, keep your needle down. Raise the presser foot. Gently slide the zipper pull out of the way. Then lower the presser foot and continue sewing. When you reach a corner, keep your needle down. Raise the presser foot. Pivot the fabric 90 degrees. Then lower the presser foot and continue sewing. Remember to backstitch at the end of your line of stitches. Here is a front view of the zipper stitched into place. To finish the pocket, remove the pins or electrical tape. Trim the excess zipper so that it is 0.6 centimetre or 1/4 of an inch away from your line of stitches. Then fold the pocket fabric upwards in half. Align all the edges of the pocket fabric, then pin around the top and sides. Only pin the pocket fabric. Do not pin it to the lining fabric. Attach your standard sewing machine foot and reduce your stitch length to 2 to 2.5. Stitch around the pocket fabric. Remember to backstitch at the end of your line of stitches. Once sewn, trim the pocket down to a 0.6 centimetre or 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Your pocket is now complete. Insert the magnetic snap lay both lining fabric pieces down right side up. Then use the Molko paper pattern to transfer the magnetic snap marks onto both pieces using chalk or a vanishing ink marker pen. Pierce or cut the 2 small vertical lines on the template first to make this step easier. Use a seam ripper to make 2 small incisions through the fabric for the magnetic snap prongs. Take 1/2 of the magnetic snap and insert the prongs through the small incisions through the right sides of the lining. Place the metal washer over the prongs at the back and then bend the prongs over each other to close them. Repeat with the other half of the magnetic snap and the other lining piece. Assemble the lining. Lay one of your lining fabric pieces right side up and place the other lining piece on top, wrong side up, so that both right sides of the fabrics are touching each other. Align all the edges, then pin the sides and bottom of the bag together, leaving the square areas of the corners. Using chalk or a marker, mark a 20cm or 8-inch gap in the middle of the bottom of the lining. This gap is important for turning the pouch out at the end. Stitch along the sides and the bottom of the bag. Again, like with the exterior fabric, do not sew the square areas of the corners and do not sew the marked gap in the lining. It is also very important to backstitch at the start and the end of each line of stitch to ensure your seams do not reopen later on. Once the seams have been sewn, cut off the excess slip pocket fabric. Once all of the sides are sewn, press your seams open with a hot iron. This will ensure that your corners and edges stay nice and flat and not bulky. Now we are going to sew the corners in the lining, just like we did for the exterior bag. I'm going to speed this along a little, but please refer back to the detailed steps before if needed. Once both corners are sewn, your lining bag should look like this. Turn the lining bag right side out Make sure the straps are pushed inside the exterior bag. Then place the lining bag inside the exterior bag so that both right sides of the bags are facing each other. Align the raw edges of the exterior and lining bags at the top, paying lots of attention to the joining seams. Pin or clip into place. So around the top edge of the bag, I recommend removing the extension table and the accessory compartment from your sewing machine so the bag can fit around the machine arm easily. Reach into the gap in the lining and turn the bag right side out and poke out all of the corners with your fingers. Now we are going to close up the gap in the lining. Fold the raw edges of the lining gap inward and either close with a hand stitch or you can pin and sew the opening shut using a 0.3 centimetre or 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, so it will not be that noticeable. Push the lining back into the bag and push the corners into each other. Pin or clip the folded top edge to keep it nice and flat. Finally, with your straps pulled out of the way, top stitch around the top edge of the bag, 0.5 centimetre or 3/16 of an inch away from the edge. I like to use a stitch length of 3.5 for this, as it gives the bag a lovely finish. If you are having a hard time sewing through the layers, try using a walking foot and or a thicker needle. Congratulations, your bag is now complete. I really hope that you enjoyed this tutorial and you are proud of your new bag. If you appreciate this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. To purchase the paper templates used in this tutorial, please follow the link in the description box below the video. The PDF pattern also includes a supplies list and a detailed step-by-step written tutorial with colour photographs. Your purchase helps support my business so I can keep creating more tutorials like this one. To see what other sewing tutorials and patterns I have on offer, head over to molko.co.uk